Alrighty everyone, how's it going? This is my review of episode 1 and 2 for The Last of Us HBO TV show for the second season. I have watched the first season, but I have not reviewed it. Maybe I will go back and retroactively do that, but I have not gotten around to it yet, so my apologies. Just bear with me, because I do know some of the issues I had with that version as well. Some of the stuff I really did enjoy, like the exposition and them adding more lore to the overall story and arc and adapting that from the video game and putting more flavor onto new scenes that made sense, like when they were talking about, oh, we have to bomb the city in one other area of the country, and some soldier had like a horrified look on his face. That was really well done in terms of additions, and I expected them to carry over into season 2, no less. It starts out just like the video game with The Last of Us Part 2, but particular story beats changed. Obviously, the first scene they started out with was Ellie and Joel with the lie, and they were having a conversation, and then it was like, oh, swear to me that you didn't lie about the situation of killing the Fireflies when I wanted to get the cure. I wanted to go here. And she has this survivor's guild inside of her. Joel lies. She says okay, and we move on from the scene, but it's a little bit extended from the first game, which was a bit interesting. That was the choice. But if I was talking about things that I'm kind of mixed about, I missed the cold opening of The Last of Us Part 2, where Joel is sitting there explaining to his brother, confessing the crime. He's sitting there recapping the first game in its entirety and explaining why he took Ellie to Salt Lake, what happened there, what transpired, and explaining to the only man he trusts why he went in there and killed everyone and said grimly, I saved her. And Tommy's like, Jesus, dude, like, I'll keep this between us. You know I got your back. You know I'm your brother, but I would have done the same. But yeah, you could tell that things were bubbling and eroding on the surface with this one particular event, and it was all gonna come to a head. And I really like that dramatization of what is going to happen, the calm before the storm, pretty much. I do like the more wholesome characterization of Dina this time around in this show as well. It's lent to the credit of her actress Isabella Merced, and she just embodies the character in a very nice way. It's not to say that Dina wasn't nice in the game and cool in the game and one of the cool new characters just like her and Jesse, but I feel like this actress just brings a lot more out of the characterization, and I'm glad that she got more time to spend with Joel, and she was cool with him, and she was gonna watch movies with him, and by that extension of their relationship, Ellie being with Dina and their development and their continuation, because Ellie shy, you know, they don't have this relationship yet. Dina just broke up with Jesse. I think it's really embodied out well with these new mannerisms, and I just love how they portrayed this character this time around. Definitely one of the more positives of the show, and considering the fact that she was close to Joel, it makes what is going to be episode 3 a bit more devastating with his death, and how Ellie and Dina are coping with it in a sense, and Tommy and Jackson and everybody. One other cool thing that I like is just the amplified action. So we go to the scene where once again you see the beginning is very different. So let's start there first. Like, they are burying the dead at somewhere near Salt Lake City, and you see Abby get introduced. I know there were people talking about, oh, Caitlin Deaver, her appearance is, she's not jacked up as Abby. She doesn't have the muscles. She hasn't been training this whole time, being a woman on the mission to kill the person that basically killed her father. And to that, I do agree with the sentiment that Abby's muscle had a story. It had meaning to what was going on. You know, this hardened soldier, like the strongest wolf in a sense. And Caitlyn doesn't really embody it, but she is a ferocious actor, and I think that does pull through. But it also kind of hurts the characterization of showing Abby, because I mean, she was a raw fucking monster. This training has led her to this point. This training also gets her through these tense situations with either the Seraphites, or you find out later, the WLF itself. It doesn't show that hardened soldier in the show from an exterior point of view, but maybe it will. And I did like her acting. I like Abby's performance overall in this season. One of the scenes that she said, "Oh, we find him, we kill him slowly," and I'm like, God damn, okay. Acting wise is on point. Looks wise, I do wish that she was a bit bigger, and I do understand that critique in general, and I do actually agree with it. Moving on to the next scene, we see Ellie fighting the big guy, and Jesse essentially saying, "Oh, you know, I made him pull his punch," or whatever. There's a lot of people just ostracizing this scene in particular, saying that how the fuck can like this short, small woman put this person in a triangle hole? And I said this before in a recent video. If someone puts you in a triangle hole, you're fucking tapping out. You're getting choked. If you get choked in whatever position, whether you're super strong or not, somebody get a hold of you or whatever, they might be smaller, you're fucking tapping, because again, you will not survive oxygen being cut off to your neck. It's just not happening in any sense. And I mean, it can happen to almost anyone. But the main thing about this scene in particular is people say, oh, the big guy was winning. No, not the big guy was winning, but Ellie was winning against the big guy, and it doesn't make any sense how this small person can beat this dude in particular. And I'm just kind of thinking to myself, like, did people really understand Jesse came in and said, hey, the dude pulled his punch? So if he didn't, he would have knocked you the fuck out, and you would have been on the floor like a pancake. And I would have had to mention that to Joel. And I don't want to do that, of course, obviously, because I'm part of the patrols. He's very protective of you. So he pulled his punch. He would have knocked you out. And that sort of brings up the dynamic of the fight in this moment where Ellie says, don't do that. Don't do that, because I want to fight at full capacity. I like the violence and I want to test myself, which is why she keeps going on runs. She doesn't know that she has this super affinity for it, and we saw this in season 1 when Joel killed the security guard for her, the Federer guy. She is in tune with massive violence, and it really is something that sort of tweaks euphoria for this character from what we see and from what they described. And that's going to be the crux of Ellie's self-destructive nature, the nature of not having a father figure, a mentor, and the nature of not letting things go for the sake of revenge. This is the tidings to all of that, the build-up, which I really didn't have a problem with, so I can sort of see this scene in action and why it needed to transpire and take place. Joel in therapy. And what I think about this, I think there needs to be more context to the whole relationship with him and Eugene in general. We get Eugene coming in to the story. Originally, he's someone who was a Firefly, Eugene Linden, and he had a stroke in the games and he died. And you know, they find the whole fucking weed farm and they go in there and they smoke, and that's when Ellie and Dina gets a little bit more closer. It's gonna be weird if they rearrange the scenes and sort of try to tell this well after the fact, because I think in the game they did it perfectly because it had the tension of, oh, we're off patrol, shit is happening, something's happening to Joel and Tommy. So I do miss that scene for context. But this time around, it is Ellie and fucking Jesse going to the weed farm and finding out about Eugene. And apparently Joel kills Eugene in this show. And that's an interesting change because while in therapy, basically Eugene's wife, Gail, she rips into this man. She completely destroys the fuck out of him. And you're wondering, like, what? Why? This is... It even calls it out and say, aren't you supposed to be supporting me and not, like, tearing me down like a wall? But really, the truth is, until we find out about the bottle episode where we learn more about flashbacks, the past, and how Eugene's death was handled, we don't know where this is going to go into and the specifics of the situation, which I assume is going to entail about guilt and Joel holding up pent back things where it's just like he won't explain certain things to the actual person that's doing the psychological eval on him. He's hiding things. He's saying, oh, I saved her. He's not really revealing the details of all the mass murdering that he has done to get to this point in the process. It's like deep-seated stuff, and I believe this psychoanalyst is someone who knows intentions of what Joel did with Eugene, and maybe he's trying to conceal it for a reason, and it leads to Eugene possibly dying in the worst fucking way possible later on in one of the episodes when he appears. I think his actor was Cass, so we're definitely gonna see that. And what I surmised was either is going to be one or two things. Eugene found out about Joel because he used to be a previous Firefly. Maybe they had a conversation saying that, oh, well, you know, I used to be a Firefly, and Joel mentions something, and then Eugene IDs him like, oh shit, that's the fucking guy that Marlene was smuggling stuff around to in Boston. Then he has to kill him because that could break out, maybe cause something in the community. He wants to keep that well hidden, and he dies, and Joel makes something up. He doesn't cover his tracks well. Gail finds out, it's all a fucking shitstorm. Or it could be column B, where he finds out about Ellie's immunity. Eugene finds out about Ellie's immunity, and then he has to die because no one else can know about this. So it's a variety of factors that they can place into these episodes going forward. I would say this characterization of Eugene's new backstory has me intrigued to see what goes on about it. But for now, it's nothing much I can say other than the fact that I do think there is a realistic value to people within post-apocalyptic worlds trying to get some sort of counseling, because look, you have zombies, mushroom men, bloaters, rat kings, all these motherfuckers running around you, dog. Like, seriously, I'm gonna need some intense psychotherapy if I woke up every day and there's a bunch of zombies knocking right outside my community, knowing that I could die every singular second if I'm not careful. That's nerve-wracking. That is fucking spine-chilling. You got to put that into mind, and I really didn't have that big of a problem with Joel in therapy or just trying to find a way to comfort his demons. I figure most people would try to do that under those said excruciating circumstances. Somewhere in the middle of this episode, you eventually get Ellie and Dina on patrol. And I understand at this point, people are feeling like this episode is way too slow. I think it's the calm before the storm that is needed to set up the beginning of the story, because you got to get Ellie's backstory, you got to get her life in Jackson, you got to get the life in Jackson with Joel. It's setting up the new characters. So that first episode is definitely a lot of slice of life stuff going on. Ellie and them going to the supermarket is a no fucking brainer to that testament, because then they go on patrol and then you get to see a stalker for the first time in history with this particular timeline. it's kind of weird being a fan of the games and being like, oh, stalkers, yeah, those enemies, those stalkers that we used to see, remember they were in the first The Last of Us, and now this is their first appearance ever in the timeline. And I'm just like kind of taken aback, like, what the hell? It's like, that's how I feel right now, like, what the hell? All these rearranged events is gonna take a lot of getting used to, but it's a nice wholesome moment that you see between Dina and Ellie, defying orders pretty much. A couple of people might say this might be reckless in the outbreak, but Dina and Ellie have been handling clickers for a long time. They figure it's not much of a problem. They know how many are in there. They slightly miscalculate. They go in there anyway. They kill like 2 of them, and then you find the stalker in there, and this thing's pretty sick. Like, the fucking tendrils coming out of the nostrils is just pure survival horror carnage candy that you're seeing displayed on screen. By every stretch of the imagination for reckless abandon, Ellie gets bits, but she clearly does not get infected because she is immune, obviously, but Dina cannot see this bite. She cannot allude to it whatsoever. Remember, if you get bit in this world, it doesn't fucking matter at any rate. You say you have an immunity, people will look at you like you're a fucking crazy person. They're gonna start shooting at you, guns blazing, putting bullets in your brains if you get bit. She didn't panic, she hid the bite, and she also like decided to have this gnarly scene where she dug a knife into her abdomen and basically scarred over it. It's pretty much the same they did with the battery acid on Ellie's arm tattoo. They put battery acid on it, put a tattoo over it, so there's not like a bite mark scar anymore. And that's one way to hide the immunity due to everything that Joel taught her with survival instincts. And I like the stalker scene. It's really nice. One of the things about the cinematography of the stalker scene is seeing it crawl in the background as Ellie's like looking around the supermarket for things. And I thought that was really creepy, man. Like seeing something on like 4 legs crawling in the background, just in the darkness. You can see there's something there, but the character doesn't know. They don't know, and the imminent danger is right around the corner with that, because you don't know where it is. And I thought they captured that quite well, despite some of the liberties taken with this particular format of The Last of Us. Moving on, there was a funny scene after this. I kind of chuckled at this one. I kind of fucking laughed. I thought it was pretty funny, where it seems like there's this commune. They put Ellie and Dina in court for basically disobeying orders on patrol, and it's one funny part where Tommy's like, you know, you guys gotta explain yourselves. Ellie calls him out and says, wouldn't you and Joel do the same thing, walk up in there, kill these things with reckless abandon, and do what you want and not be pressed to your orders? If you go in there and kill all these things, you just go in there. Tommy says, oh, that's different. And he gets pressed by his wife. It's like, why? It's like, it's just a funny ass scene, because it shows, hey, we are the big adults here. We are the ones that are supposed to handle this. We might have the same mindset to go in there and have a little fun and shoot these fucking clickers up, but you guys are kids, right? In our minds, in our hearts of hearts, you guys are the kids and you're treating them as such. So I just thought it was a funny scene. It was really cool to have something like that, a little bit of levity in the midst of this very dark story. The ending of this episode is 1-for-1 reminiscent of the video games. It's a splice of the dance sequence that, funnily enough, kind of occurs at the end of the game. So flashback occurs at the end of the game. This time they're showing it a lot more early, which is a testament to the rearrangement of scenes within the show itself. And I think they're establishing all of this for the audience, which I'll talk about later. I'll talk about how the rearrangement of scenes kind of blurts out a lot more of the story versus the game, because a lot of the secretive parts and the meaningful ones where you will question, like, hey, Joel is sitting on the porch. Ellie is walking towards him. You know, that's a signifier of the final conversation in the game. This time they don't spell it out, but they're saving that for later. You could tell that there is a clear rearrangement this time around. The dance sequence, and that's important to understand how the relationship of Joel and Ellie has clearly diminished. It is in the toilet. It is 100% on point zero before there is some amends to be made. You see the relationship of Dina and Ellie and how it evolves a little bit more into a fling. You know, Dina says she was drunk. They walk away. You see Seth saying, "Oh, this is a commune. You're not supposed to be here just kissing in front of children. What the fuck is this? What are you doing?" And he tries to shoo them away. And then he calls them, well, the bigot sandwich term, and then he gets thrown to the floor. And let's just say Joel comes in and fucking steamrolls this guy. Like in the game, it's just a modest push. In the fucking show, he comes in and he literally runs over him like a linebacker. And you're thinking to yourself, oh shit. So more of a conflict there physically, like more of a physicality, always trying to come in and protect his surrogate daughter. And she doesn't want to hear from him. It's heartbreaking. She doesn't care. She wants him to get out of the zone. It is a parent being chipped away by his surrogate daughter, and he could do nothing in that regard but try to make it up to the best of his ability, which is why he tries to fix Ellie's guitar sometime earlier in the episode. So you see the remnants of this deep fractured bond between the two, and one of them is trying to pick it up so hard and he's just getting thrown denials. And I believe every parent has to ultimately deal with that with his child. So it hurts, man, but that's the tragedy they're trying to tell in Jackson, and I thought they handled it pretty well from migrating from game to actual live action adaptation. Pretty good acting so far from the cast. It's been pretty stellar so far. And the final scenes are, you see these pipes in the goddamn ground wiggly, man. They are wiggling all over the place. And this is the storytelling of the new tendrils, where the infected horde can be alerted if you step on these tendrils, and they will move to your location immediately if you set them off. It goes for double trouble when you see Abby overlooking Jackson with the crew. And finally, after many years, after several years, we have found Jackson, and we are trying to kill Joel, and there's an imminent threat of the infected and Abby and everything else enclosing in the town. So you can feel the pressure. Even though this was a slow episode, I understand that they had to build it up so much with the new characters and so little time to get people introduced in the right direction before fucking shit hits the fan. And I think it was a fine episode, not one that really blew me away at all. It's not something that really knocked my socks off compared to episode 2. I think episode 2 is better than episode 1, and getting into episode 2, holy shit, it's a lot more going on here. It's a lot more to digest and process. Let's get right down to it. This is essentially showing, yes, Abby has found her target and she's trying to close in, and they're debating the logistics behind it. Like, how do we get to Joel in this enclosed community? They have guns, they have many motherfuckers, they've been surviving for a long time, and we're just a couple of people from the WLF. How do we isolate them? Talking about the dude who they want to get tortured, maybe on patrol or something, find him, torture him a little bit, get the information, but they want to leave him alive. One thing that's not in my notes is the change to show the more sympathy driven side of the Salt Lake City crew. I know there's going to be people saying everyone in that singular room is irredeemable for what they did, and they deserved the revenge coming to them. And to some extent, I do agree. They had participation. They had participation in it, but you can clearly tell they didn't want to hurt anybody else. that they thought Abby's plan was kind of cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, out the fucking mind. It's like they thought it was super crazy. And then I do like the inclusion that Owen talks and he says, I'm going to try to convince Abby to go home because this is a suicide mission. There is no way we're going to get in there, get out without dying or losing the people that we have. Like a true leader, he tries to step up to the plate because he knows this girl is insane with her lust for revenge. And I like that being added in there. I thought it added a bit more characterization to show this is absolutely fucking nuts. We're in the middle of a blizzard. We are going to die, and you still want this one person no matter all the odds. It's desperation at its finest. Then, you know, Abby goes on by herself. She says, fuck it. Again, this beat here is mostly reminiscent to the game, but you get that haunting visual of her falling down the cliff, and then she sees all the frozen bodies at the bottom of the gorge. And this is the infected sort of trying to hibernate itself, and before it spawns like a million infected individuals rising out of the ground, once again showing the tendrils and everything. This character is in a very precarious position. And I love this shot, like, of all the infected just enclosing on this one person, thousands, if not hundreds. Not only enclosing on her, but they're going to enclose into Jackson by breaking the pipes. And she runs like towards the nearest shelter in the mill, and you see the tense scene. That scene of her crawling through the fence was always fucking tense in the game. It's super tense here. They're breaking through. One of them gets behind her. You think, once again, I saw this happen all in the game, but in the fucking show you think, oh, she's done. Done as dinner. It's enclosing in. It's about to be all over. And then the one gunshot that seals the fate of Joel and changes everything. Joel comes in. Are you all right? Then Dina calls out his name, which I think was done better in the show than the game. I have no problem with them going about and saying, oh, now we are people who have gotten more complacent in Jackson. We're trying to save lives now. We're trying to be a little bit more trusting to build up the community, but this is still a lawless land regardless, right? This change it's not really Tommy or Joel telling the name. It's Dina looking for him and not knowing that someone is there, right? Not knowing that Abby is there. Abby knows the name now. She just knows it. And they cannot lie. They sort of tricked Joel too in this one, where he wants to go back to Jackson because Jackson is now getting attacked because the pipes have all broken into tendril fodder, and the infected is converging in on the town itself. And it's like, no, Joel's like, no, I gotta leave, I gotta go back, I gotta help my people. That is first and foremost. And it leads like a bit more of a valorous standpoint to the character. It's very noble. And Abby's like, no, we got guys, we got guns, we can help you guys. And I think that lures them in a lot more to a very grand degree where it makes sense. Like, yeah, why wouldn't we get back up? Why wouldn't we get back up to the town and try to defend everyone and have these new people come in and have new survivors? But no, Abby's a person on a mission. And they go back and you know what's gonna happen next. I gotta talk about the battle at Jackson Hole. We've complained numerous times to the first season saying that, oh, it's not enough action as it was in the games. They took the key elements, the crucial elements out of action from The Last of Us Part 1. And with this fucking season, they have delivered their own Game of Thrones style epic fucking battle. I'm talking absolute insanity. I would argue this is one of the more intense amazing, well thought out sequences of infected hordes attacking a place that I ever seen. It makes me fucking envious as a Resident Evil fan to say, look, we need that. All right. I was like, look, you know, you can say what you want about this adaptation, but this sequence itself was so fucking well done. The bloater in the pack as hundreds of people come in, dogs just randomly like coming out, being released, and just, you know, biting people in the neck. Pandemonium, a dude getting speared off the roof by a runner. Clickers all over the place, people being like just completely killed, like pandemonium. This was a great sequence. The CGI looked good, the threats looked good. You can see that the bloater was about to go after Maria before Tommy's like, no, you don't touch my wife, you don't fuck with my wife, you come after me. And then him just constantly burning it, and you thinking Tommy is going to die because he's running out of fuel. This is new, you don't know what's about to happen, it's all rearranged, it's all different, and the bloater dies from the fire. I fucking love this part, man. I have nothing bad to say about the Battle of Jackson Hole. I don't. And if people say it's bad, why was this sequence so bad when it's HBO money? It's fucking choreographed really well. The tension is done really well. What's so bad about it? We asked for more action for The Last of Us, and we got that in spades with this particular episode. They do need to once again have the action reminiscent to the rest of the action sequences in the game. I want to see Ellie versus Abby, I want to see the theater, I want to see all that stuff happen. So they can't slouch on that. But for what they showed here, the money they poured into, that shit was good. No hands down, in my opinion, one of the best effective action sequences this year. And then we get to the moment. We know what's going to happen at the end of the episode. Let me adjust myself properly for this. It's time for Joel's death, where Joel dies. And one of the things I do like is how he was looking back at the town being on fire, like knowing, even though it's like, hands up, I'm caught, they know who I am, they're after me, some people are after me, he still only cares about getting back home. Great characterization. It is a few things I feel mixed about here for this presentation of Joel's death. Some of the changes I kind of prefer in the video game, and some of the changes I kind of prefer in the show. I like him trying to get up when Ellie's like screaming, pleading, Joel, fucking get up. And he tries, actually, as opposed to looking at her in the game. I like that he actually tries. His leg is foobar. He knows he can't do it, but he still tries because that fatherly concern, that instinct is still there. I'm doing it for the love of this person and my child that I cared about so much, my surrogate child. I'm still gonna try to get up even though I can't. That was well done, in my personal opinion. In the games though, I enjoyed the fact more that the room was just more darker, surreal. It felt like a Mexican standoff was ready to go off when they heard that name, Joel. And everyone was like sizing each other up. Like, Joel's like, you act like you heard of us or something. Like he's about to pull out his gun and start blasting, just like everybody else. That scene was a lot more tense in the game, in my personal opinion. Also, the fact that when Joel dies and he gets his brain like just bashed out, I thought it was a bit of a more violent visual that will never leave you, just sheer haunting, as opposed to her breaking a golf club and stabbing him in the neck. I like the sequence where she broke the golf club and she kept punching him, and yeah, the golf club to the fucking exposed shotgun knee, man. That's hard to watch no matter how you slice it. Jesus Christ. In the game, I also like the fact that Joel just didn't give a fuck who Abby was. Of course, this whole line of just shut the fuck up and get it over with, because he's tired of her monologuing and exposition and talking, which we'll get to in a minute. But the whole nature of Joel just sitting there and Abby says, "Oh, guess who I am? Guess," in the game. And he accepts it. He thinks about it for a second, like, oh, and you could tell in his mind, in his facial expressions, that he's killed many people. It doesn't matter. He's killed legions of people at this point. It could be anybody coming for him. He sits there, exhales, and he says, "You know, whatever speech you have rehearsed, just say it so we can get this over with." That aura, that badassness was just way better in my personal opinion. But I did like that. Just shut the fuck up and do it. Just do it, because I don't want to hear you talk anymore. Both sequences, they have positives and a bit of mixed aspect to it, really, with the show itself, just specifically there. And I didn't like how she stabbed him in the neck with the golf club as opposed to just breaking it. It could have just been the golf club to the brain and it would have had the same impact. But like I said, her beating him with the fist showed I'm not listening to what my friends are saying anymore. I'm beating this guy to a pulp. Death by 1,000 cuts until he is dead. I also think that Ellie coming in and crawling towards him in the show, that was a nice touch. That was a nice addition, because it showed more emotion there, it conveyed. It was more heart-wrenching. Just seeing that visual of Bella Ramsey having her face on Pedro Pascal and just the blood dripping and just them two isolated in the room as her father figure slips away. That was very well done, in my opinion. I thought that was good. I thought that was great. And you're just sad and you're left in a void, just like the character is. No matter what people say about Bella Ramsey, I've seen a lot of people say, "Oh, this person is ugly. I can't stand looking at them." That acting in that moment was done well. When she says, "You're gonna fucking die. I'm gonna kill you. I'm killing everyone," I thought they emoted that quite similar to the game, even though the game version, she sounds like very ferocious. Just that last bit worked out well for me, and I think this scene was good on its own merits. Just I have a few problems here or there. This is why this sits in the mixed category. Some parts of the Joel sequence where he dies was done better in the game. Some parts where he dies was done well in the show, but they both give you something to appreciate with this and how it was well acted. I thought episode 1 and 2, episode 1 was the slow burn, but episode 2 was the one that got me very invested into this season. I want to see what's going to happen next. What are they going to do from here? Just the big thing is you kill one of your big actors, and he's gone, but obviously he's going to be in the flashbacks, so that's a no-brainer. I think Pascal's still going to be in the flashbacks regardless. Just those important scenes are vital to still show for this season. He's not going to be fully gone. Joel's ghost literally permeates throughout what The Last of Us Part 2 is and what drives Ellie to do what she does in a self-destructive pattern of PTSD, guilt, and grief. I hope they expand on Jesse's role, because he dies later on. You know, spoiler alert, there's going to be spoiler review, so I would assume you would know that, and you've played the games by far. But he dies later on, and he could get an expanded role with the changes, and it could work well for that character. It could put a little bit more on display before he ultimately bites the bullet, right? And the last thing is, like, someone said something that makes a lot of sense. I was listening to Anthony Caliber's review of The Last of Us Season 2 with Episode 2. And one thing that fully makes sense is now when we talk about Episode 3 and we mention the fact that Tommy now has a lack of resources that are legitimate due to the attack on the Jackson Hole. He wasted a lot of ammo, a lot of bullets to protect the city. A lot of people died there. And now it's legitimate. Like, I can't send crews to go with you, Ellie, to get your revenge on Abby in Seattle, because now we had this massive attack I had to attend to. That part makes a little bit more sense. So I think this season so far, at least with these 2 episodes, have been an interesting experiment and concoction as they complement and aid the game, and you can see the parts that worked and the parts that didn't. But this is a fantastic adaptation in my opinion, considering all the shit Resident Evil adaptations we have gotten so far, and hopefully Zach Krieger saves us. This has been very great to discuss, and honestly I can't wait for more. There's a few things, like I said, I'm mixed about, like some of Joel's death. Some parts I liked, some parts I didn't. Abby kind of spelled it out to the audience as well. I'm coming here to kill you. Oh, you killed my father. Whereas it's a bit more mysterious in the game until you find that shocking revelation that yes, he killed her father. He was the doctor from the first game and you killed him. So it sort of comes back to haunt the player and Joel in a big degree. And she spells it out here. It's a lot of monologuing. I like the actress though. She is good. She's great. But they spell it out in a way where it makes the audience seem like they're dumb, as opposed to waiting for the Abby season to get all the details. They spell it out right away. And I don't know how I feel about that. That's why I feel mixed about it. It's not a negative. I just feel conflicted. Because you could have... maybe they could have put it on the DL a little bit more, but I can understand her calling him a lawless piece of shit. Getting that all out there, that part I'm fine with totally. And yeah, them mixing Manny and Jordan into one character, because Jordan's not existent in this at all. So now it's like Manny and Jordan are the same. He got the scar on the temple now, as opposed to Jordan getting cut in the face. I like that part. I kind of feel about, but the rest really good, really strong. And a lot of people are talking about this in a way where it's like, yeah, where can they go from here? This is some damn good survival horror infected TV, and I want to see what they do more with it as they make even more changes and they go on and see what else happens, you know. And I'm very curious to see what happens Monday, because I will be watching it. I might give my episode review on episode 3 and 4 a little bit later when 4 comes out, and you'll get to hear what I say about episode 3 and 4. But that's my review of The Last of Us Season 2, Episode 1, Episode 2. 1 was a slow burn, and Episode 2 was fucking flames, dude. And I cannot wait to see what else happens in this season. I will see you guys next time. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And as always, take care of yourselves. Be good people. Endure and survive. See you later.